Hi, welcome to another video with me. So today I wanted to talk about a really interesting book that I just finished, and I wanted to share it with you because I love books and I like sharing information that has to do with certain topics, and this topic has to do with Christians being persecuted, and it doesn't sound like very like happy or like uplifting, but actually it kind of is. Ironically, it is uplifting and it is kind of, I guess, joyful because these Christians in different parts of the world have experienced a lot of persecution from extreme Islamic groups and people in their country. And what I find again in this book that I'll share with you in a moment, these Christians never give up. They never convert to Islam because they feel threatened or they feel scared, even if they are scared and they feel threatened, obviously. But they never give up hope. They never give up courage and faith. They always stick true to the values of their faith, and they're actually willing to die and sacrifice their lives, sacrifice just the comfort of living in their country, or they have to flee, perhaps, or even maybe they don't die, but their family members are killed because of more threats, or they have to pay like a high tax and pay more money, and that's another thing that the Islamic groups in certain countries might say just to threaten and scare them. But yeah, I was really just inspired because I got to learn more about these regions in the world where persecution does happen, and there are a lot of persecutions of Christians happening as well. So you might wonder, like, where is this happening in the world? So it's actually mostly in the Middle East and some of Asia and some of Africa. So Africa is part of the Middle East, if you didn't know. So Africa, there are Middle Eastern region countries, but in this book, it doesn't really talk about Africa being in the Middle East in the sense of like Algeria. I mean, I'm sure there are some cases, but this book didn't really mention it like a lot. So it didn't really mention a lot of Egypt or Algeria or Tunisia or like Morocco or like Libya. Those are Middle Eastern countries in Africa. Those ones were not really mentioned. It was more like Nigeria and Somalia, maybe even like Ethiopia. These countries in Africa, like the Western, which is Nigeria, and Eastern Somalia, Ethiopia of Africa, experienced a lot of persecution. There's really dominated um, Islamic groups and like very extreme Islamic groups. And that's why in this book it talks about and it kind of um, emphasizes a little bit the different extreme groups for the Islam. So that's why not all countries may experience the same. There might be still persecution, but it's just the groups depending if they're there and present in the country or not. So that's Africa, those two countries that are mentioned in this book. And then from the Middle East region, it's like mostly Iran, Iraq, Syria, Gaza City, which is in Israel, and Gaza, and Turkey. Yeah, so that's kind of like the Middle Eastern region, and then Pakistan, which is more Asia, and Malaysia, Asia. So like that's kind of like a lot of the repeated countries for this book. So yeah, that's kind of the geography. And the book is called I Am N. I Am N, and basically um, what this means is that this is kind of how the cover looks on the front. So I am N, and this symbol, this letter, actually it's a letter in Arabic. This is the letter N in Arabic. It's called Noon, so it has an N pronunciation. So basically, Islamic groups, these extreme groups in these countries, will say that this person's an N because they're following Jesus, they're a believer of Christianity and Jesus of Nazareth. So N is kind of the symbol for a person who's Christian. So all this book, I Am N, has to do with all these different stories, like I told you, of the different regions in the world where these people are persecuted for their faith, and either they still survive and they live, or like they are barely obviously tortured, just like in extreme ways. Like it does go into a little bit. Each story is like a few pages long. It's not like so long. Each chapter of the stories, it kind of highlights different parts of the person. and like what they had to go through. Also, this book, which I found really cool, is the table of contents showcases different topics. So, like the first part one is about sacrifice, so it highlights different stories that are more pertaining to sacrifice. The other one is like courage, and other ones are joy, perseverance, forgiveness, and then also faithfulness. So I really like that because it really kind of grouped the stories. It wasn't just like all different stories, and like it all kind of had meaning to each other and tied in the same topic. Um, and pertaining to like more the Christian faith and like being persecuted. Obviously, it's painful and it's a lot of suffering, but like there is a lot of joy, and there's still hope, and that's what I really found inspiring and encouraging with all these stories in this book, I Am In. So yeah, just kind of getting to know more about what people's experiences are within their faith, even if they have to suffer greatly. Um, just seeing the amount of courage and kind of faith and strength that they're given, and just to kind of continue living out their faith as best they can, even in really like dominated and strong Islamic countries in the world. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you today. I'm N, so if you're interested, you can read it and check it out. And I think the author, it's like an organization. The author organization is called The Voice of the Martyrs. So that's kind of the the nonprofit that kind of is reaching out about this book and the stories in it to kind of encourage people um, who don't know much about it to learn more, or just to stay, yeah, encouraged and inspired. So yeah, that's all for today, and I hope you enjoyed. Take care. Bye.